amazing. This is the world that we're living in. Like, I remember I was watching a video on YouTube. I believe it was back from like the 50s or the 60s. And they were asking like high school students. It was an old black and white video, right? They were asking high school students, what do you envision the year 2020 to be like, right? What do you envision the world to look like in 2020? And some of them gave wild predictions like, have flying cars in that time, have, a moon base at that time, would have, all types of shit, flying cities, right? But yeah, here it is, right? 2020, and further on from there, what do we got? Ain't got no flying cars, but we have people out here believing that they're blue whales. You got people out here identifying as the opposite gender. You got people saying, well, we shouldn't identify children when they're born. Bear with me a second. All right, where did I leave off? I was saying, the saying out here, but you can't, when children are born, we can't label them as he or she because that we don't want to hurt their feelings, right? We don't know if they actually identify as, a male or female yet. It's like, what? This is the world. This is what the world came to. Got dummies out here identifying themselves as damn bananas, for Christ's sake. I mean, Jesus, man. This is amazing. If you can't tell that we're living in the end times, I mean, you got to be a dumbass if you can't see that. Got dummies out here. I literally know a dude that's a damn pastor, and he told me, "Hey, look, we're not really in the end times. We still have a couple hundred more years, a couple hundred more days. I mean, a couple hundred more years. Excuse me." I'm like, shit. I think we're on the order of days, right? On the order of days, as Mina Shareg would say, right? Right? Shit, I don't know about you. Ain't feel like no couple hundred more years. This feels like on the order of days this place has left, man. I mean, shit, a kingdom can't go on like this. People literally confused about who they are. People confused if they were born as a male or a female, right? People confused about I mean, it's just way too much. It really is just too much to even to mention at this point, right? There's so much shit taking place out here. It's unbelievable, right? It's truly unbelievable the bullshit that's happening on a day by day basis out here, especially in this country, but around the world. Hillary Clinton said when she was running for office back in 2016 against Trump, she made a statement in one of her speeches and said, once something is pushed in America, the entire world follows. Why is that? Because America is basically like that light on the top of the high hill, basically, right? America is that glorifying light that everybody is drawn towards, right? That's how people view the United States, right? This is that golden city. What is that scripture? I believe that's Jeremiah 50, Jeremiah 51 calls it the golden city, right? How has the golden city ceased? Yeah, that's talking about America, that golden city. That's how people around the world, at least at one point in time, thought about America. When America's brought to mind, that you ask them, well, where do you want to go? If you could pick anywhere in the world, where would you want to go if you could leave your current country? Like 99% of people would pick, oh, I want to go to the United States. And in their mind, they view America as like symbolically having like streets paved with gold, meaning what? It's much greater than their current country they live in, right? That's how people view this country from around the world. But the truth is, it's not like that over here, right? That's not how this country is. It's not um, like some type of, kingdom of heaven on earth. Some people believe it is, right? Some people out here have that type of lifestyle where they're able to say that. But vast majority of people over here, man, hey, you're living one paycheck away from living on the streets, man. Or if you want to get ahead in this country, you got to do some shady things behind the scenes, man. If you want to get ahead, you're gonna have to, you're gonna be having to do a couple things that you would, prefer not to do. That's what you have to do in this country to get ahead, man. So again, don't believe the lies if you're in another country outside of the United States. Don't believe the bullshit that they're putting out there, the smoke and mirrors. If you're familiar with what that term means, right? It's all smoke and mirrors, just like how in Rome, to stop the people from revolting against the hardships that they had to live by, the authorities built that Colosseum to keep all the people entertained. Like literally, if you do the history on it, When they opened the Colosseum in Rome, they did 100 days straight of games, right? When the Colosseum first opened, there was literally 100 days straight of games every day that people could come to the Colosseum and watch. Hell, you could even get in for free. You won't have a very good seat, but you could even get in for free. But if you want to pay money, you can get a better seat in the arena, right? But even people that were poor were allowed to get in. They just had, not the best type of seatings. But same thing with how it is today. We got literally, these sports events, like say for instance the Super Bowl, right? There's literally 100 million people watching it live on TV at the same time, and then there's like what 100,000, 80,000 people that are there at the arena. Hell, maybe there's even more. I don't know. I've never went, but there's well over 100 million people paying attention to that football game or whatever, um, as it's taking place. You know what I'm saying? So just like how it was in ancient Rome, right? They use these distractions to entertain the people, right? As they use it as a smoke and mirrors type of effect, right? You keep the people entertained so they don't revolt against you. But the truth is, man, the sun is setting on this empire. Meaning what? That this empire, her days are running thin, right? Her days are running thin. And the writing's on the wall. Even people that don't believe in the Bible admit this. There's even historians out there, or people dealing with the economy, right? People out there who are knowledgeable on these fields of study, who are even acknowledging, well, yeah, it certainly does seem like America is hitting her end stage. At this point, basically, to put it in simple terms, this is not a conspiracy at this point, right? This is not a conspiracy. This is just the fact that the empire, America, is in a decline right now. And this has happened all throughout history, right? All throughout history, empires have risen and empires have fallen. That's just the cycle of how this world works. Just like how, say, for instance, Ukraine right now, that might not exist 2 years from right now. The Ukraine might be a fallen empire from the past in the very near future. So, hey, going back to the statement, empires have a time to rule, but then they all have a time to fall. That's the time that we're in right now. I believe it's a scripture in Second Ezra's. I believe that's the 4th chapter, if I'm not mistaken. But it says, and I'm nearly paraphrasing it, but it says, the Lord will not move or stir the times until the said measure has been fulfilled. Right? God's not going to intervene from the time He's given these empires to rule. He's going to give them their set measured time, and then once that time has ran out, then the empire is going to get taken down. But He gives them all a certain time period to have their rulership. So why they're in the middle of that time, He's not going to jump in and cut them off there. No, He's going to give them their set amount of time, and then once they reach that end, then He's going to bring that judgment on them. Right, and that's the point we're approaching right now, right? 2024. We're approaching the end of America. And again, this is not a conspiracy theory. I mean, the writing is on the wall. If you can't see it, then you're just a dummy if you can't see it. I mean, again, this is not difficult to understand. This is very simple if you have eyes to see and ears to hear, as the scriptures would say, right? The evidence is on the wall, right? The writing's on the wall. The evidence is out into the open that this is what's happening. And the people that can't see it are just, you're just not paying attention. I mean, you're just not paying attention. You got to, this is why the Bible has parables in it that speak about, that you got to keep your eyes, right? You got to be watching, right? When Christ comes back, He's going to take His servants that were watching, right? Not one that was, a drunkard and was foolish and, partied around and, didn't actually pay attention to the signs taking place. The scriptures also say a wise man will foresee the evil and he'll hide himself. Like, say, for instance, some of these preppers out here, right? These doomsday preppers. They try to make them look like bad guys and insane on like the TV shows and whatnot. But the truth is, man, these individuals are going to have an upper edge on the population out here, once this collapse happens. Because a lot of these dudes, they have years worth of food and supplies at their homes, they have to rely on. Some of them have their own bunkers, right? So again, they foresee the bad times, so they got themselves prepared. While the average fool out here was going around getting drunk every weekend, right? So again, you gotta, have your eyes on what's taking place in this world, right? You actually got to be watching everything that's happening. You can't just be like some of these dummy conspiracies theories on the internet, right? Some of these conspiracy theorists out here, like Russian vids, right? RV Truth, saying, "Oh, everything's fake. Everything is fake, right? Nothing is ever real. Nothing's ever real, right?" If I see on the news, America and Russia, oh, like this dude, what's this guy, David Weiss, right? He'll be like, "Oh, nuclear weapons are all fake, right? All that's fake to scare people." I mean, well, shit, you can say they're all fake, but what are you gonna do when one hits a city near you? Well, what are you gonna do then? Because you said that was all fake. But you're gonna find out one day in the future that's not fake. Right? You're gonna find out the tension between America and Russia. Right? The tension between these countries. It's not some type of show for people to just scare people. This is real. This is real. These countries don't like each other. They are actually ready to fight each other. They're ready to kill each other's soldiers. They're ready to I got to watch the wording I use here. They're willing to go to war at this point. This is not a show for people just to watch and get scared, right? Like some of these dummies on the internet think, "Oh, it's all a show. All the world leaders are all joined together. It's not real." It's like, no, this is real. This is very real. And again, if you say it's not real, then you don't believe in the Bible, then, because even Jesus said that one of the signs that the end would be approaching is nations would be fighting against other nations, and kingdoms against kingdoms, right? Kingdoms rising against other kingdoms in fights. Christ said that was a sign that he was approaching. So again, if you think all this is not real and just a show for people to get scared at, I mean, well, hey, you're just delusional. You have no idea what you're talking about. Like, there's some dumbasses out here on the internet, man. I'll spend a couple minutes, ranting about some of these fools out here. There's some dumbasses out here that literally will tell me, well, the war in Ukraine is fake. It's like, wait, what? War in Ukraine is fake? Well, what exactly do you mean by that statement? It's like, are you even clear in your own head as to what you mean by that? Like, do you mean the footage on TV is not real? Do you mean that, like, the politics behind it isn't real? Are people actually dying? I mean, like, what do you even mean when you make such a bullshit, a retarded statement like that? That the war isn't real. Well, by that logic, according to you, the war in Gaza is not real either. Then, I mean, seriously, it's like, what do these dummies mean when they say bullshit like this? Like, say for instance, right? If somebody asks me if I make a statement and I say that ISS footage is fake, or I say that pictures of Earth from space are not real, they'll ask me, well, what do I mean by that? And then I can go into this information, that information, this information, this other information about the CGI, the cloud duplication, the um the parts where they literally admit they can't go to space. I could show them all of the footage we have to demonstrate that there's flaws taking place with the footages, where there's green screens being used. Again, I can go into all this detail on my statements, but yeah, dummies like, oh, what's this guy? I believe I won't put any names out there, but there's some people I've seen by going on live streams over the past 2 years who've told me before that the war taking place is not real, basically. But of course, when I ask them, well, what do you mean by that? They have no idea. Like literally, they go brain dead. Like they have no clue what they're saying. They're just repeating a phrase that they might have heard somebody else say, and then they're just repeating it to sound smart. But if you question them on what they're saying, they have no idea. I mean, again, it's truly remarkable to me how dumb some people are out here. It's really amazing to me. It's like, really? So you're going to sit there and say such a bullshit claim, but then when you're challenged on the bullshit, you have no idea why you believe the nonsense. I mean, come on, you can't be serious. But these are supposedly knowledgeable people. Like seriously, if you tell me the war in Ukraine is fake, what about it is fake? Are you saying the news footage is fake? Because, dummy, you do realize there's literally thousands of people in Ukraine recording footage on their phones of these attacks happening. So that's not fake. The politics, well, what about that's fake? The country is literally are ready to go to war. Like, seriously, NATO is moving troops, around their countries. Like, say for instance, there's operations taking place in the NATO alliance right now, because of what's happening in Ukraine. Right, like literally, they just are what was doing. I believe over Christmas time they were doing like a operation, with like 40,000 NATO troops, right, preparing for drills with war with Russia, right. They were doing some drill operations, right, so their troops would be prepared if this event actually happens. Right. So again, armies around the world are moving around. They're getting ready for something. Governments around the world are telling their citizens, you need to be prepared because we don't know what's about to happen. Like literally, there's countries around the world like China that they've told their people, okay, you should have a year's worth of food or 6 months worth of food at your house at all times. But in the United States, the US government, they're not even acknowledging that there's anything happening. They're not even acknowledging the serious situation that we're in right now. They won't even acknowledge it. They'll just tell people, we got everything under control. Don't worry about nothing. Right? Oh, don't go panic buy. Right? Don't go panic buy. We need to have enough to go around. So again, it's just remarkable to me. It's just remarkable to me. The level of ignorance that some people show out here. Again, supposedly knowledgeable, intelligent people, you get to see it. They don't really know what the hell they're talking about. Like, say for instance, right? Um, Dealing with people saying that what's happening in Ukraine is not real. Um, they'll say, "Oh, well, yeah, people are actually dying on the ground. Buildings are getting hit with missiles and whatnot." But really behind the scenes, Zelensky and Putin are like buddies behind the scenes. Like that's what some of these dummies try to say. And I say that because there might have been like a picture from like years ago, but where you see like Putin and Zelensky having a handshake, right? Literally from years and years ago. Shit, it might even, since we're living in a day and age where there's AI, some of that could even be fake, and you wouldn't even know it, right? So again, they get tricked and think, well, wait, all of this is fake because this picture over here, which could be an AI generated picture nowadays, shows that these two individuals, having a handshake, right? So see, that shows it's all fake, all for the views. I mean, come on, you can't be serious. It's like, so wait a second. So the funny part is the same person who would say that was probably like a person who likes Donald Trump, right? That's what a lot of these truthers are. They think that Trump's like some type of savior. So they'll say that the picture between Putin and Zelensky shaking hands, that shows that there is trickery going on here. But yeah, if I show them a picture of Donald Trump and Vladimir Putin having a handshake, then they'll be like, well, Trump's really a good guy. So as you see, the same line of logic goes out the window. They'll say one shows that they're just actors, but then when I show one that they like, then all of a sudden they change their mind and they don't address it. I mean, come on, this is amazing. So again, all throughout human history, there's been times where leaders from opposing countries would meet up and discuss deals, and you might see them together, right? But that doesn't mean that they're buddies just because they're in the same room together having a dialogue. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, seriously, it makes no sense what these guys are saying. So again, I have no reason to believe anything other than what I see happening. Right? Russia wants to take over Ukraine, because they want to bring back the Soviet empire that once existed, where Ukraine was part of their like their territory. Right? If you do the research on it, Ukraine's only been like an independent nation for like 30 years, right? I believe it was, what was it, the 1990s, right? That the Soviet Union, collapsed, right? So Ukraine since the 90s was like an independent country, according to the history that I've seen. Of course, I don't know the ins and outs of everything, but according to the history, that's what I've seen. So again, I don't have any reason, any logical reason to believe anything else is taking place. It's Russia. They want to take the territory back to reform what they had 30 years ago. It makes logical sense. I have no reason to believe otherwise. Of course, on the other hand, though, it is certainly true that NATO, right, which America's in that alliance, right, like the top player in that alliance, they're really fighting Russia and Ukraine, right, because Ukraine would have folded like a damn card table in the first month or two of the invasion, because Ukraine really, they have nothing to flex, right? Ukraine is like a baby, right? Ukraine is Well, for one, it is a big country, but they have nowhere near the military might that the Russians have. I mean, this is clear facts. You know, a lot of people will just be biased because they like Ukraine and don't want Putin to win. But let's just face the facts. If NATO and all the members of the alliance, I believe how many members are in the NATO alliance? I'm not even sure at this point. I believe there's 38. I could be mistaken. There might be 28. Again, don't quote me on that. I'm not sure off the top of the head how many members are in the are in it, but I know it's around that ballpark. What I said, it's around that number. Um, so again, it's true that the only reason that Ukraine is staying afloat right now is because, again, all of these, hundreds of thousands of rounds and guns and armory from NATO alliance countries. That's the only reason they've been able to stay afloat for the last 2 years. Without that aid, they would have folded in half like a damn card table. That's just what would have happened. And eventually they will, right? Eventually they will. I mean, this aid cannot go on forever. Even Biden, and the politicians in America, are starting to wane a little bit with their military support. Like I remember, like maybe 1 or 2 months ago, um, there was a bill they were trying to get passed to give Ukraine some more aid, but some of the senators, they were holding it up because they were saying, "Hey, look, we're not letting this pass until we get the border situation right, the border between U.S. and Mexico. We're not letting any Ukraine go. Excuse me, we're not letting any aid go to Ukraine until we get the borders taken care of, right?" And then Zelensky was like, "Oh, come on, we need the aid, right? We need the aid." So I mean, that country, man. It's a bad time to be over